Welcome everybody to the Countrywide Coordinator Training Call. Today is Thursday, August 14th. It's 5:18 p.m. I am Janice Toomey. I'll be your host tonight in taking over for Michelle. Hi, Anna.
Hi guys, I'm sorry. It's just absolute mayhem around here as we try to swallow a 5,000 square foot office space, and all of the accoutrements thereof. It's just been crazy trying to do this. And so the boys are cleaning up one more aspect this afternoon. Yeah, it's been crazy here.
Take care, Pete.
There went another crazy. Yeah, losing the office space in Anchorage has been just absurd. It's really been very difficult, and we've had a lot of incoming action in the international arena too. So we've had an exceptional amount of work in the diplomatic and communications realm, and also quite a bit of court action that we had to undertake. So yeah, it's been a very active, very tiring week just in terms of organizational parameters of reorganizing our offices and communications networks and everything else. At the same time, all this international business needs to be taken care of. And then on top of that, Jim had surgery. So yeah, we've been full up with things taking our time, attention, and energy this week. But we're here.
How did the surgery go?
The surgery went well. He had an infection, and they had to go in and drain it and try to clean up the wound. So he's under special wound care at this point.
Okay. Well, it sounds like he's in good hands.
Well,
All right, Pete, I take care for the day.
everybody has to kind of think good thoughts for Jim and keep him in your prayers.
Definitely sending him and all of you prayers.
So far so good, but it's really irritating and painful, and hopefully he can get back on track and be better, going forward now.
Good. Good. Well, how do you want to run tonight? Do you have anything special for us that we need to know as coordinators, or did you just want to go to hands? I know we've got two little questions in the chat and we've got several hands up. So how would you like to go tonight?
Well, I do have a couple of things I want people to be generally aware of. We are forming we're getting organized for a law contingency. We are starting kind of a super litigation committee, a litigation committee research group. And the idea is that we'll have this sort of think tank that concerns itself with finding answers applicable to their system, so that we have proper means of waving off these courts and giving our people the means to reply to these courts and to avoid contracting with them right up front, so that they never get ensnared into a court battle with them in the first place. And then we will be doing research and compiling kind of silver bullet responses to these courts for common problems like traffic infractions, child custody issues, mortgages, property taxes, all the big things that people commonly have to deal with. It's our intention to develop kind of a silver bullet procedure and answer to these courts, so that our people get their exemptions, so that our people are recognized, so that our people can avoid interaction with these courts to the extent possible, and so that they can be quickly and cleanly identified and exempted from 92% of everything that goes on in these courts. We're hoping to have two different working groups, one that deals with actual issues like I just described that are litigations with these foreign courts, and then another group, another study and research group that is devoted to teaching American common law principles and procedures and assisting the juror assemblies in educating their jurors and officers to be able to run a common law court competently and to have the resources they need to do so. So the law issues will be kind of separated out into the litigation committee research group and the American Common Law Education Group. I'm not sure that that's exactly what they're going to be called, but those are the subjects that they will attempt to organize and provide support with. Now we're suggesting that if you have a litigation committee already set up in your assembly, that you should choose someone to be the contact for the research group, so that as we review key cases and key procedures and everything, that we can get this information directly to your assembly litigation committee and also to your coordinator, so that there will be two people that regularly get reports from the litigation and education, common law education groups that will be working on providing support and information to the assemblies on both common law education and litigation issues.
So are you asking for one contact per state or two, one for the actual litigation portion and somebody that would be in charge of or heading up the teaching portion of it in tandem?
Well, we're assuming that the juror assemblies are going to be the contact point for the common law education, and that the coordinators will be kind of like a roaming contact point for all the information we're sending out. So there will be, adequate coverage so that the assembly is guaranteed getting the information in a timely fashion. And hopefully, every week there'll be something new or juicy or good to chew on. And we'll just keep going on that basis and developing these procedures and protocols of how to deal with their system and its litigations, and with educating ourselves about our own system so that we can adequately and competently stand up our own courts and educate our jurors and our court officials.
When is that committee going to start?
It's already started. We've had 3 meetings so far, and it's not the same as Doug and Christie's committee, but it is. They are important people involved in this effort on 11 o'clock on Saturday mornings.
Okay. So are you asking each state to identify a contact in the juror assembly and then email you or
Well,
somebody?
I think that, tell your coordinator, get your coordinator on board, and then we'll go for that. We have to have the coordinator as a primary contact for all this information. And at the same time, we should have like a little mini 3-person or 2-person contact list where we can just hit the button and say, okay, here's all the goodies that we found in litigation research. Here's all the goodies we found for, American common law education. Yeah. And right now for the American Common Law Education Group, we're beginning to sort through and evaluate research materials and reference books, both online and paperback and hardback editions of fundamental research books that we can recommend to people who are engaged in educating themselves about the American common law.
Awesome. Thank you.
Upward and onward.
Got another one?
We're also looking at extracting a great deal of good information that we have from Ron Gibson and from Duncan Phelps concerning land rights, copyrights, patents, land descriptions, different kinds of surveys, different means that were used to cheat people out of their land and to establish public interest in private property. We've got a lot of good information that needs to be sorted through, organized, and basically regurgitated and represented for the purpose of training land patent clerks and for the purpose of kind of expediting and explaining the process of land claims. So we have a list of people who are interested in being land patent clerks and assisting others in getting their land claims established and properly recorded. We also have the new facility of the Bucolic Living Law Firm and its website, which is specializing in being able to record and publish land patents. And, anything to do with land, chains of title, outright claims, everything. So we're in our infancy, but we have a mandate and a need to be able to sort through these issues for people. So there's going to be a working group on land claim issues.
Land claim issues. That's awesome. And that's already started as well? Or you're just now starting to extract?
Well, the compilation of stuff has started a long time ago, and now we're at the point where we need to kind of internalize it and work it into procedures. And, this is how you do it. And this is where you can publish it. And this is how long it has to be published in public. And, all those sorts of questions have to be answered. And sort of the history of this entire situation has to be explained too, so that people can make some sense of it. So we got a lot of information, we got a lot of good material, but we need to sort through it, organize it, and regurgitate it in ways that are meaningful and helpful to people in actually making their land claims.
That's going to be highly beneficial to be that far in advance or getting that stuff together. So many new people have a hard time fishing through and are asking for stuff like that all of the time. That's incredible. I'm glad you're doing that. Thank you.
Bit by bit, dig, dig, dig. Everyone who wants to help can volunteer, and we'll do our best to get the group organized and rolling. So I guess the only other thing is the banking issues. And last week I was asked by Mookie in Australia if we could get the the internal bank vendor system turned on so that we could trade among ourselves using our AFD and could trade with the vendors that are accepting AFD as payment. And the answer came back, it's coming so fast, the whole thing is coming together so fast that it wouldn't make sense to do a separate launch of that particular system ahead of a system that's going to enable both asset trading and fiat trading. So hold on to your hats, folks. We're just it won't be long now. Let's put it that way. And you'll be able to trade with the vendors directly as you used to be able to do on the website. You could trade AFD with vendors that were signed up. You'll be able to do that again, and I highly recommend that you do, because that just supports the vendors, right? That says, yay, you did the right thing, vendors. And so I suggest that if you are a vendor of services or goods, that you sign up as a vendor in the global system. and, encourage your suppliers and people that you know to sign up as vendors so that they can be paid in AFD. But, use that internal vendor system for all you're worth, because these are the people that support you and we need to support them, right? But then the external vendor system, which is all the vendors that you commonly work with now, not all, because some of them have joined our vendor group, but the external vendors, you'll be able to deal with them in their fiat currencies very soon. So, both System 1 and System 2 are catching up to launch dates here.
Getting exciting.
It is. You'll be so pleased, because this will be so user friendly, and it reduced to very simple parts and concepts that I think being user friendly is very important for anything that we do online, so that we have a minimum of questions, a minimum of troubleshooting to do. And I think this system is so self-explanatory now that you'll be able to go on and just use it, just understand it, and it'll be self-explanatory, I believe. So that'll make life a lot simpler. You'll be able to trade in gold and silver directly, or you'll be able to trade in fiat money through our exchange portal. So,
Have you seen it? Have you seen the prototype?
well,
Are they
I
giving
will
you
see.
peek?
I'll see the final somewhere probably next Thursday in terms of the dashboard.
Mhm.
And believe me, they've gone through several iterations of the dashboard and its functions. And so they're running the final test on that dashboard on Tuesday, and I expect to have some feedback, maybe by Thursday.
Awesome. That's exciting.
It is. It is. And it's coming just at the right time, because as these commercial banks fail and fade away, and as the fiat currencies are recognized for what they are, there's going to be considerable havoc. And I'm really glad that we're getting our umbrella spread for everybody in time.
So you are confident that it'll be we'll have them before the chaos hits for emergencies and taking care of our communities and things like that.
I am. That's the entire reason we're here, is so that there would be that safety net.
That's amazing. That is such a blessing. Thank you and everybody for doing that. I have no words. I feel like crying right now thinking about it. You guys are amazing. Thank you.
We're doing our dog paddle, no matter what. We're going to keep our noses above the water and try to keep everybody else's nose above the water. I guess that would be a good moment to reflect on the function of the indemnity bond. A lot of people are confused about that. Everybody has grandfathered into an exemption. And the reason you're grandfathered into an exemption is that the service provider already owed you so much money that it was ridiculous. And yet they were continuing to charge you for current services, so that you both became debtors. It's like a system where your brother owes you $100,000 and you owe him $2, but you're both debtors, one to the other. And so he comes after you and is hell on wheels, going after you for the $2 you owe him. But you're exempt because he already owes you 100,000. So you say, "Hey, I'm not going to extend you more credit, brother. I'm going to take my exemption and charge back, and we're going to do what's known as mutual offset credit exemption exchange, a MOSI." Well, they were supposed to be giving us MOSIs all along, but they never got organized in any sane way to provide the MOSIs that they promised. And so we've had a great deal of trouble getting these MOSIs honored in a timely fashion. They're honored easily in some locations and in some states, and in other states, they pretend they never heard of such a thing. So the indemnity bond offers us a way of enforcing the MOSIs ourselves. And you should look at an indemnity bond as a form of insurance. And just like you carry private car insurance, okay? But you never make a claim on that insurance until you have an accident, right? Well, it's the same way with an indemnity bond. It's there as a form of insurance in the case that you, as a living man or woman, need to claim your exemption right now, okay? So what it does is it claims your exemption against a specific bond that you've placed on their debt to you. So as an initial action, we placed a claim of $15 trillion against the debt that the United States corporation owed us, right? So let's give you an example of
Anna, you are muted. I didn't mute anybody. I don't know how that happened. There you go.
okay. Let's give an example. You're 85 years old, you slipped on the ice, you broke both legs, and now you have a whole bunch of medical things that aren't covered. You have physical therapy that isn't covered. You have travel expenses to get specialist care that wasn't covered. And, suddenly you've got $180,000 medical expense that you can't pay, and you are on a limited fixed income. So there's no way that you're going to be able to deal with this, right? So this is an indemnity bond claim. This is your exemption coming into play. Another example, you enter into a mortgage in good faith. You pay down 15 years of a 30-year mortgage, and suddenly you are fired from your job, or rather you're let go from your job because the employer is shutting down, and you spend the next year and a half looking for a new job, but you can't find anything that pays near what you had before. So now all of a sudden the mortgage is way outside your ability to pay. Okay, there's been a change, and that change has landed you in this situation. Okay, now you can go forward and make an indemnity bond claim for the rest of the mortgage payments. Does this make sense to everybody? I mean, just like you have car insurance, but you never make a claim on it until something disastrous happens and you have a wreck. Well, it's the same with an indemnity bond, which is a form of insurance. It's there, but you don't you don't pull the parachute ripcord until you're going down, right? So when you've got a situation that you really can't handle, and you need relief, and you need to claim your exemption. Okay, well, now's the time to pull out the indemnity bond and say, okay, well, I'm going for an exemption and a debt swap.
So as the contact for the indemnity bond on California, I've issued 3 so far, and as of now, one of them was rejected. They were used for a tax collector who also in that county acts as a treasurer. They claim that they can provide all banking services for all of the transactions, but they're denying the indemnity bond as a form of payment, because and so they got denied the use of it. And so what was asked of me was about the comptroller, or is there an enforcement agent? So when somebody does get pushed back, if the agency doesn't know what to do with it, what should we do about that? And the original coordinator call that you had given us instructions, you were talked about what to do for a mortgage or a tax, and it sounded like, to me, it sounded like to take the bond to a bank with the bill and tell your bank to pay this bond, this bill with this bond. Is that accurate? And then can you touch on the comptroller of currency or the enforcement agent? I thought there was somebody that was identified as the enforcement agent, but maybe that changed. I'm hearing this secondhand. Can you clarify that for us?
Okay, there is a special office within the U.S. Treasury 1789 that is the ultimate party responsible for overseeing the exemptions. Okay, and foreign sovereigns are exempted, and we're all foreign sovereigns with respect to them, right? Okay, so there is a special office, and we have made that information available. I don't have it on the top of my brain pan so that I can just rattle off the name and address, but we can certainly put that out again. So there is a treasury office that's responsible. And if one of the vendors doesn't know what to do with the bond, doesn't know how to claim the exemption, then you would direct them to go through the treasury office, or you would contact the treasury office and say, hey, now we're trying to, enforce our exemption. And this particular vendor doesn't know how to do this. So we're turning to you to explain the process. Okay. Do not try to pass through petty debts. Don't try this for the light bill. Don't try this for, your trash bill. Use this only for big bills that you really can't pay, like, a mortgage that's gotten away from you, catastrophic medical bills, things that you really truly struggle with. Okay.
That would include a student loan. I just received a request today for a student loan, and I think that is not what you're wanting it to be used for. Is that correct?
Well, it kind of depends, doesn't it? If you're disabled and you've got a $300,000 student loan, and there's no likelihood that you're going to be able to function, and make advantage of your education, what if you've run up a $500,000 student loan, becoming educated as a doctor, and then when you're 30 years old, it turns out that you have multiple sclerosis and you're going to spend the next 15 years dying. You've got this huge education bill over your head and no hope of ever being able to pay it off. That is a subject for an indemnity bond.
So I believe request was a six-figure, but I don't hear any of the other extreme circumstance in this case. So would it be the large bill with an extenuating circumstance?
Yes. Yes, it's like a they call them a catastrophic insurance claim, where something has happened and changed and it's left you with no reasonable means of ever paying it back. If somebody ran up $1 million college bill, then they should have an education they can parlay into something, right? Just generally speaking. But there are examples where it becomes a catastrophic bill and they can't logically or reasonably repay it.
So that going to when you find the location of the treasury for us to take a rejection to, then that would include that kind of stuff too, for medical, tax, mortgage, and
Anything that would be catastrophic, anything that a person couldn't reasonably repay. Now, this is not intended to be the true restitution. This is not the answer. Okay. The answer is for all of these mortgages that people have been paying to be rolled back and wiped out, and for people to be in line to get the money they paid for these mortgages returned. Okay, that's the end game. But the exemption claim, the indemnity exemption claim, is just one way that we have of enforcing our exemption in circumstances that are desperate. Okay. Now, one of our people made the claim on the exemption through the indemnity bond and got an answer back from the US Treasury saying, oh, and by the way, we owe you 1.2 million.
Trying to catch us on there in the hook
Yeah.
real quick.
Yeah, you heard that?
Yeah.
Okay, this is what we had heard rumored by the Trump administration. Now, what they're going to try to do is offer you 1.2 million and not tell you that you're owed $1 billion or more, right? They're going to try to settle their debt for $1.2 million, which is considerably less than a fart in the wind. However, $1.2 million in this particular economy at the present moment could pay off mortgages. It could pay off a lot for a lot of people. And so there are going to be a lot of people that want to take advantage of this $1.2 million without losing their principal claim. So the question arises, is there a way that you can make a claim and get the 1.2 million and yet also claim your estate, your municipal estate, and also claim your American infant descendant estate? Yes, there is. And it's all together with how you respond to this $1.2 million offer. You can respond to it as accepting a partial payment from the United States of America Incorporated. You can respond to it as a acceptance of a partial payment. And you can, what I asked him to do was to write back and ask for the information to make the claim against the municipal estate and against the American infant descendant estate. Because you're just dealing with one entity when you're dealing with the U.S. capital T Treasury upper lowercase 1789. And there are two other entities that need to be extracted, okay? One is the assets of your American infant descendant estate need to be returned to you free and clear. And number two, the assets of the former municipal estate need to be returned to you free and clear. So these are issues that you need to bring up with the Treasury Department and specifically with the Secretary of the Treasury when you make contact over any of these indemnity bond issues, because this is the issue, this is the reply you're going to get back, and it's a rather disingenuous reply because they're offering to pay you 1.2 million, but you are most likely owed somewhere in the neighborhood of more like 1.2 billion. So you don't want to settle your claim against them so lightly.
So
And
when you get a claim like that, you should make sure that we get this in order and in writing and agreed before the money is accepted and deposited, because you deposited is that acceptance of as payment.
right, they're not telling you that this is an offer to settle their entire debt with you. So there's a non-disclosure involved on their side. They're not telling you how much they actually owe you. They're just making an offer to settle their debt with you for 1.2 million. And what you want to bring forward is that you can accept it as a partial payment. Excuse me.
See you in the morning.
Okay.
Oh, it's like 5:30, almost 5:15.
Okay.
Pete's already rolled out. He's taken care of.
Thank
I
you.
shot myself $200 to recoup all my losses. Really.
The end of the day at my office, when the last dogs are hung and the last ones are shunting out the door before peace descends. Anyway, yeah. You have to think about what they're doing. They're making you an offer, but it's a non-disclosed offer. They're presenting this offer as if it were freebie money, and it's not. It's a settlement offer against their entire debt to you. And at this point, the Secretary of the Treasury or someone appointed by him as a U.S. trustee is holding the entirety of your municipal estate in the bankruptcy, right? And there's somebody also related to him that's holding on to your American infant descendant estate, which is all your land claims and all your claims to your own government's resources. So you don't want to just sign it up and sign away your claim to everything. You want to, by your endorsement or by your communication with the secretary, find out who's handling these other issues, these other estate issues for your other persons, right? And you also want to want an accounting of exactly how much the United States of America Incorporated owes you at this point. And then you're free to accept the 1.2 million as a partial payment. Because it's, I've checked out probably 24 random accounts. Just, your Aunt Ida's account, your kid's account, your best friend's account. Just look up their name and see that, that particular franchise is worth, say, $6 billion. So what's happening here? Why aren't you getting half of that at least instead of 1.2 million? You see what, yeah. And then there's an entire structure of, they're called generation skipping trusts. So in one side of this, and another whole thing that's completely unrelated, you don't get your own estate back. What you get back is your grandparents' estates. So you would be receiving the receipts from 4 grandparents instead of your own, which would go toward your grandkids, you see. So there's a giant generation skipping trust that was used for tax evasion purposes because the perpetrators didn't want to pay the taxes on it. So yeah, there's more stuff here than you can even begin to imagine, but this 1.2 million is kind of a cheap shot playing on the ignorance of the American people, who most of whom, if somebody walks up to you and you're Joe Average and he says, oh, and by the way, the government owes you $1.2 million, Joe Average is going to go, what? Katie, bar the door. Do you owe my wife 1.2 million too? And the answer will be yes. And then it's really going to be, but they're going to pay you back in their own paper, right? They're going to pay you back in Federal Reserve notes, which are worthless. And by their non-disclosure, they're going to take your land, which is worth a lot, and they're going to take your gold, which is worth a lot, and leave you with a pile of paper. And you don't want that to happen, even if you need some of their paper at the present moment.
Right. I have heard you say a comment that if you accept it, then they're trying to get us to accept that, and then that prevents us from ever getting anything again in the future. And I get that as a settlement, but are those, if somebody takes the 1.2 million and then they find out about the American State Nationals, are they still able to record their paperwork and come home to the land in Florida and establish themselves as their own birthright in the American?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer. There would be arguments on both sides. The argument against it would be that, the offer was made and they didn't accept. Then the countervailing argument would be that the offer was not fully disclosed and so was fraudulent. So the best thing to do is do your very best to get the information, solicit the correct information from the Office of the Secretary of the Treasury concerning exactly how much is owed to the estate of your upper lowercase name, and also request the contact information for those trustees, those bankruptcy trustees handling the bankruptcy of the United States in all caps. And the address for those that are handling the supposedly vacated American infant decedent estates. Because you're coming for all three. You're not leaving anything on the table. And I, meanwhile, am trying to get this settled for everybody so that you get the full advantage of all three estates. And the whole thing is recognized as the fruits of a poisonous tree, so to speak. And you're all, you all get everything that you're owed.
Well, how you feeling, Anna? It's 6:10 and you've got 11 hands up.
I'm never going to make it.
You're never gonna make it, okay? Do you wanna go ahead and close this meeting and take, have these people email you, or do you wanna take one or two? Whatever you wanna do.
Yeah, I think emailing me is the best thing. And what I've asked people to do in the other podcasts when I haven't been able to get to all the questions is to ask them to use a specific label, a subject line that's readily something that I can grab onto and actually call up a search on. So, for example, I'm asking the people that were watching Neethy's bucolic law podcast to put bucolic law is the subject line. And the coordinator training subject line would be CT training, coordinator training would be CT. And I'm just trying my darndest to get to all of those. But you understand that there are days when I get thousands of emails. And so I actually have to go back and search for a subject. So this will help me.
All right, guys. Well, you heard Anna. So send her an email. Make sure to put CT in the subject line so that she can know exactly what she's looking at and to answer your question. Try to put keywords that are searchable for her. For Anna, you need some hot tea with lemon and honey.
We
Yeah, well,
can't
this
hear
is-
you, Janice.
You can hear me? Oh no.
You're very low, Janice. And
Okay, how about that?
could you re-put what we put on the subject line?
Yep, and the subject line put CT for coordinator training. And then use a searchable keyword that she will easily be able to identify and get her attention and or search at a later date.
Yeah, I basically have to search everything. So if you're coming in from this particular podcast and you have questions, go ahead and send it as CT, and then I'll know it's coordinator training. And just so you know, unless it's something that involves private data, I'll collect those answers and have them ready to post in next week's chat so that you can just go there and get the answer, and everybody can get the answer at once.
Okay.
Would you mind if I please tell Anna about her coffee, please? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Anna,
well,
this is Paula on Louisiana. John on New Hampshire asked me to please let you know that your coffee has been waiting for you at the Big Lake Post Office.
Okay, well, I'll have to talk to my son about that. This is a call from the hospital about my husband, so I'm gonna duck off here.
bye, Anna. Thank you for everything.
Thank you, Janice. Bye, Anna.
Bye, everybody. Good
Bye.
night.